Hi, I'm Mark Kuban.
I'm Jackie Keast.
We're self-appointed experts in content and in making each other laugh.
Welcome to our podcast on the Tools,
where we talk about what we've been watching, reading, listening to and scrolling through.
This week, we'll be talking about television series Euphoria, podcast Apology Line, another TV series, Sort of, and one of my favourite Sydney drag queens, Vanity, and her Instagram account, @Wigs by Vanity.
Great to see your face, Jackie Keast. How was your holiday?
It was good. I laid pretty low. COVID was everywhere. So I just spent most of it at my parents' up north, playing by the pool, getting lots of material for the podcast. And yeah, you'll be pleased to know my dad, Dan, is full of duckweed on your advice. He's probably the podcast #1 fan. I kept speaking to him of my dad when he told me I swore too much in the 5th episode. He counted all the swear words that I said. So sorry, Dad.
Come on, Chris needs to get a life.
He's going to be offended, and he's our only listener. So
that's so not true. I really didn't do much. We had a COVID household, so I stayed indoors, which suited me fine. It was good. The weather was kind of...
You are a hermit.
I am a hermit. Am I a hermit? There's a bit of rain, a bit of sun, a bit of everything. So, but, it's kind of come and gone. So over the holidays, I kind of reintroduced myself to Euphoria. I came pretty late to this television series. I watched a couple of eps from season 1, and it really didn't resonate with me at the time. So when season 2 rolled around, I watched the first and second ep, and then I was hooked. The producers and writers did an amazing thing in the second season. They kind of provided the background for the characters and how it all came to be. So, how the characters, like there's a drug dealer, there's someone who's addicted to drugs, there's a transgender person, so all those backstories are kind of revealed in season 2. And that immediately was a hook for me because suddenly it made sense for me to go back to season 1 and binge watch. And it's amazing. And for our listeners who, like me, who are a bit late to the party, Euphoria is an American teen drama television series created and written by Sam Levinson for HBO. It's based on the Israeli television miniseries of the same name, created by Ron Lesham and Daphne Levin. The series follows kind of group of high school students through the experiences of identity, trauma, drugs, friendship, love and sex. It stars Zendaya in the lead role alongside an ensemble cast of a host of other amazing talented actors. But for me, Hunter Schafer, who plays Jules Vaughn, a transgender girl who enters a turbulent relationship with Rue, played by Zendaya, after moving into the town, is a standout. She's pretty amazing. And I think, Jackie Keast,
yes,
if we had met Jules and Rue in our school days, we would be very good friends with them.
But they're too cool for me. I was not cool in school. Well, you may be surprised to know.
Well, I think they're not cool either. I think they're... So basically Schafer is a trans woman and she's just an unreal character. Like, she can't dress up like she's going to a rave and she's just so interesting, so clever. And in an interview, she said that the internet helped her cope with her gender identity. So she turned to YouTube and social media to learn about people's transition timelines. She stated that she wants people to know that she's not a cis girl. What is a cis girl?
Do you know what cisgender is?
What is it?
So that's like someone that's born into the correct gender.
Right, okay. Because that's not something that I am or feel like I am. She said, I'm proud to be a trans person. In 2019, Schafer said that she was closer to what you might call a lesbian. And in December 2021, she stated that her sexuality was bi or pan or something on Twitter. But, aside from her leading role in the series, she's also co-written an episode with the show's creator, Sam Levinson, and also collaborated with him on her character, so that the character kind of reflected her experiences.
So
And
it feels authentic.
oh, completely. But it's fun. And she's, there's a vulnerability to her character. Oh, look, I just think it's an amazing show. And a lot of my younger nieces and nephews and cousins are so addicted to this show. And they all say that is really what they're going through. It's definitely aimed at a younger audience, but it sort of received, I guess, a bit of flack, basically because, well, I guess a lot of people thought that the content, the approach to was basically, the critics found it excessive. So, in terms of the nudity and sexual content, a lot of them said it was excessive and unwarranted. But the show, since its debut, has received critical acclaim and praise for its cinematography, story, score, performance of the cast, particularly Zendaya and Schaefer. An approach to its mature. Look, I fell in love with it, and I am a bit late. The series premiered on June 16, 2019. The second season just premiered on January 9, 2022, and I think I'm 2 eps in. But, yeah, it's a great show, and it's kind of unlike anything. And quite frankly, it makes you want to go back to that school. Were you popular at school, did you say?
That should tell you all. No. But, yeah, I had my own groove. I was fun. But yeah. I was not the cool kid, as you can probably tell.
You're pretty cool to me. Yeah, so look, I loved it, and I really enjoyed binge watching the first season.
But when you say it's not like anything else, this show, as soon as, like, every time, I haven't seen Euphoria, but when I see clips of it, I'm like, this is Skins for Gen Z, because Skins was for millennials.
No, there's a lot of dick and tits. I mean, it's bizarre. No, it's pretty full on, and
it's good. I mean, finally, there's penises on American television. There's been penises on European television for many years.
But the story is great, and I have to say, the intro sequence, first ep, season 2, was a hook. It was phenomenal, and it just put all the characters in context. So, and I did try to watch it, but they didn't mean anything. The characters, I didn't have a relationship with them. And whether in their testing or whatever, suddenly for them to, at the beginning of season 2, kind of introduce you to the characters and give you the backstory was really clever. And I've never seen that done before. And, yeah, that was great. And that was it. I was immediately hooked because suddenly I was invested in those characters.
Yeah, but what I was going to say, I guess, though, that when I watched Skins, just to say that, I mean, like, it really felt like I was seeing myself on TV. I was probably older when Skins came out, but it was definitely that show I'd never seen. It was really edgy. There was sex, there was drugs, and it just felt like a really authentic portrayal of young people. I mean, I watched it when I was 20, and it was kind of like my life when I was 20 and not 16. But it rang really true to me, and this kind of feels like it's speaking to this generation now. So
there's a great character on there. We spoke about the commercialization of independent porn, and there's a character which I really like, who's not very popular. She's a little bit fat. She's kind of not seen by people, and she starts to kind of dress. She starts experimenting with, fashion, and that's kind of how, she gets her thing, right? Anyway, she then realises that someone had posted, I think, some kind of porn video that she made or sex tape that was leaked. And suddenly she got all these really positive comments and lots of likes. And then so she started her OnlyFans page. And it was fantastic. It's just like she's become...
her OnlyFans page.
She's become this she's discovered herself, the power of what she has and who she is. And she almost becomes like this kind of dominatrix type character. And you see her go to another level. And it's quite weird because they show the contrast between, in the series, where at school she's kind of invisible and, not that cool, not that sexy. But then her online world is that she's completely desirable and wanted by men. And and is making money. And it's really interesting. It's a nice economy. So,
Yeah, well, it does speak to that fact when you're in school and you can only see yourself the way that other people at school see you. And then when you leave school, the whole world opens up to you. Like, I think that's relatable to a lot of people, and definitely for teenagers. Like, when I was a kid, there was no social media, but like we could go on MSN Messenger, and that was like our escape and our other world where we could, and the internet let you find other people like you, which maybe didn't, like, I grew up in a regional town. Like, people, I just felt like I was a total outsider and didn't fit in at all. But on the internet, I could find my tribe. And I was writing blogs when I was 14 and then following all these strangers, which is what you did in the early 2000s.
I think we all had a blog. I had a blog. Where
I had a few blogs.
Your blog would be good. Where is it? Is it still up there?
The first blog.
Now block your ears. Block your ears, Margaret.
I'm not putting it out. I'm not putting my blog on the podcast. If you want to know, you can contact me directly. But I definitely had remember Live Journal? Yeah, I definitely had a Live Journal. Then I had a Tumblr.
I love Tumblr.
Apparently it's becoming like retro cool again.
Yeah.
After it was decimated when it removed porn.
Yeah, but is the porn back on? Yeah, but also it was the platform for journalists.
It was like Instagram. It was like Instagram before Instagram existed.
Yeah, but it was for
like
words.
Beautiful images and words.
Yeah.
But beautiful images, and like I just followed different people because I like their aesthetic, and so many memes. Like, I love Tumblr.
Yeah. Is it back? But is it back in its original form, or is it just...
I don't know. I just read an article the other day that said Tumblr is back and it's like cool again. But I also read an article that do you know what Neopets is?
Yeah.
Neopets is cool again as well. People want retro internet experience.
Well, they can just unplug their computer and they'll have one.
I can't remember my Neopets password. I'm sure they're all dead.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, what have you been, during the holidays, what have you been listening to?
I'm not talking about any podcast.
Or watching. Or reading.
I've been watching a TV show called Sort of, and I kind of stumbled across this. You know, like one of the, this is before holidays actually. It's like one of those weekends where I can't believe I still have these weekends after being inside for like 2 years. But you know, like a weekend be like, I just don't want to go out, don't want to see people, just want to be in my house wearing elastic waistband pants. And anyway, I found this show by scrolling through every single streaming service. And it's this comedy called Sort of. And I watched it in about 2 sittings. And it was like, just like, I didn't really know what it was. And it was just like an unexpected joy. It's this really heartwarming, tender, funny show. So Sort of is a Canadian show. It's set in Toronto. It's created by Bilal Baig and Fab Filippo. And Baig stars as the role of Sabi. Sabi is a gender fluid millennial trying to find their way in the world, really. And they work in this sort of, by night, this queer bookstore bar, which is really cool, and I wish I could go there. And as in the day, they're a nanny to 2 kids. At the same time, they're the youngest child in a Pakistani family, and they're sort of estranged from their mother and hiding their identity from her, like including the fact that they dress very femme, like have like really cool style actually. Like,
are they like like a Muslim Pakistani family or?
Yeah, so Sabi lives with their sister who, like, they describe her as being aggressively straight, which it's hard to explain, but if you see her in the show, she's like, that is an aggressively straight heterosexual
I know
woman.
a few of them.
They like, Sabi is estranged from their mother, and then I think their father is away, but they do not get along. But look, I guess this show, I mean, Sabi is queer and gender fluid and Muslim. I mean, this show is obviously breaking a lot of ground, but I think the themes of the show are really universal. Like, it's dealing with love, growing up, and death, and the issues of identity kind of just one part of a greater story. Like, the show is really nuanced. It's kind of low-key. Like, Sabi is really deadpan. Like, I read something that describes Sabi as being like Daria, if you ever watched that show in the 90s, and it's really on the money. Like, there's kind of like flat affect, and yeah, but like So in the first ep, we see that Sabi kind of feels like their life and their career isn't really going anywhere. Like their boyfriend's broken up with them but was cheating on them with a straight woman.
Right.
And like suddenly they get this chance to move to Berlin with their best friend Seven, and it feels like suddenly like their life is really about to begin for them when it's kind of been in like third gear.
Well, in Berlin, everything begins in Berlin.
At the Berghain. And you'll be in there for 72 hours and not like know what the hell has happened. But that's an aside. But it kind of, this all goes out the window for Sabi when the mother of the children that Sabi nannies has a bike accident and goes into a coma. And then suddenly Sabi can't decide if they're going to go to Berlin or not. And they feel this weight of responsibility to this family. And Bessie, the mother who is in a coma, has sort of become this really important figure in Sabi's life on their sort of path to accepting themselves and living really authentically. Mm. And yeah, like it's just hard for them to reckon with. And like Sabi is not a person that's very openly emotional. Like I say, like they're really deadpan. But this sort of incident means they kind of have to do stuff like process grief for the first time. And it also comes out that while Bessie is in a coma, that she was having an affair. So Sabi has to help their boss, Paul, Bessie's husband, through this. And like Sabi doesn't actually get along with Paul, but his wife is, maybe dying. She was cheating on him and he's like kind of a mess, like personally and with his kids. So like Sabi kind of honoring their love for Bessie, and the kids sort of steps up to be with them through this all, and they form this sort of strange little family, which in a way kind of Sabi needs, because at the same time they have their own family stuff going on. And it all kind of comes into conflict.
How many eps?
I think there's 8 episodes. It's 20 minutes each. So that's why you can just watch it all in one.
Oh, wow.
And it's really it's easy to watch. And it's really smart. It's really funny. Like I love Sabi. I kind of want to be friends with them. And I feel like this show deserves to be really popular. Like I hope it gets a bigger audience because, yeah, it originally aired on CBC in Canada. It's on Stan in Australia. I think HBO Max in the US. So it's,
but Canadians do some edgy work, I have to say. I do like their stuff. Remember Juno? That was pretty edgy for its time, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a nanny in Juno?
No, it was Canadian. There was no nanny.
Oh, Canadian. I thought you said nannies do edgy stuff.
No. Sorry.
I'm like, looking after kids can be edgy when they...
No, I said Canadians do very edgy production. Some of their stuff is very good and very edgy, I think, very cutting edge.
And it kind of feels like, I don't know, like it really gave you sort of a sense of Toronto where it's like, it's a big city, but it's not. And yeah, like you can imagine how you can sort of feel like you've done enough. And I think sometimes people have that feeling in Australia, and it's like when you're younger, you're like, I need to get out of here. I need to go to London or whatever.
But, I think that's true no matter where you are, even in New York. I mean, because, you find your tribe, and that tribe, there's, it's not like there's 8 or 9 million people and you're dealing with all 9 million people. It's like, I think every city can be small depending on, where you are and who you engage with.
I mean, sometimes I feel like Sydney is a small town, and that, like, I meet people and they know people I know. And even recently I found out one of our colleagues knows some of my friends, but I've been working with this person for like 3 years. I had no idea. It's like just stuff like that. It's like everyone is sort of connected.
No, they are. All you need is So over the break, I kind of reconnected with something I listened to a while ago. I love this podcast. It's called Apology Line. It's been around for a while, but along the lines of the Ballad of Billy Balls, this is kind of covers a project called the Apology Project. And it was launched in 1980. It was kind of like a conceptual art project and created by a guy called Alan Bridge, who employed the pseudonym Mr. Apology. A really great idea. Bridge basically invited callers to apologise for their wrongs against people without jeopardising themselves, and promoted the service by sticking up posters in the Tribeca area of New York. And what he would always say to people would be to not leave their identity, to use a public phone box, and that he wasn't affiliated with any law enforcement organisation, nor would he share the details. So it was kind of like a public confessional. So the line was based at Allen Bridge's Manhattan loft and used an answering machine to record confessions from anonymous callers. And over the 15 years that the line was in operation, more than 1,000 hours of confessions were recorded, with callers confessing everything from infidelity, shoplifting, drug dealing, to ritualistic murder. And the opening, it's so good, I can't tell you. The opening ep, basically, Alan Bridges invites everyone over to his loft. It's really funky, and he's got like a goods lift, and it's got a great vibe, and they're all drinking and consuming drugs or whatever they're consuming, and they're all having a pretty great time. And then he says, do you want to listen to some of the people who leave their confessions or their apologies? And everyone went, yeah. And of course you get 3 or 4 different, I cheated on my husband. Yeah, I'm secretly gay. Yeah, blah, and all this sort of stuff. And then this guy talks about how he bashes people, but he kind of likes it. And they're all like listening and they're really into it. And then he goes, and I murdered my neighbour. And then hung up.
Okay.
And it was very funny because
and the party just got a bucket of cold water.
That's it. The party was.
Wait, what the fuck?
The party was over. Anyway, it's really pretty amazing. Like, a huge project. I don't know really where he was going with it or whether he knew where he was going with it. But he used to publish, some of the confessions were published in Bridges' magazine Apology. And unfortunately, the project came to an abrupt end in 1995 when he was killed in an accident whilst diving. And I think he was hit by a jet ski or something. And the culprit was never found. But his wife or partner kind of kept the project alive for a while. And she kind of has a whole bunch of audio recordings and knew this thing from, the get-go. So knew it intimately. And she kind of started this podcast. It's really fascinating.
So the podcast is about the guy?
No, it's about the people. So it's basically
call in.
Well, it's really interesting because it's almost as much about him as the people who call in, and he becomes kind of addicted to this, obsessed with this confessional thing, and it becomes his life, and he's consumed.
I wonder if it would change how you see people. Like, and then is there a weight in carrying all these people's secrets, even if you don't know them?
I don't think there's a weight. I think in a way he's a bit of a voyeur, and he probably didn't get, it would be interesting. I think everyone has a secret. If you could apologise for anything, what would you apologise for?
What would you like me to apologise for?
I don't know. Just pretend.
I'm not telling you my darkest secrets in this podcast.
Well, look, I love the concept, and I wondered whether it would work today. And I guess not, because, in 1980 there was no internet. It was the tape, it was the analogue tape machines. He marketed it through just signposting, street posts and other kind of communication. But, it's kind of like the whole concept was, if you could call a number and say that you're sorry, no one would know, what would you apologise for? And, that's kind of like atonement, I guess. Look, theft. But, there's other things that, and it says, I've read where people who have murdered, that they see the image of that person or they carry that burden with them, and even years later they eventually confess. So, yeah, look, it's fascinating, and it is like the Ballad of Billy Balls in the way they kind of take you in. And he becomes, so obviously the police get involved because there were a series of gay murders around that time, and somebody rings in and says that he liked bashing gay people and then says that he killed some people. So the police then take an interest because a journalist had written a story about this, the apology line. And interestingly, during that period, there's a guy who called who said he was the son of Sam, and he'd called quite a few times. It's a really intriguing podcast, and it's really an intriguing concept as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like what is driving people to confess, but I feel like it's sometimes, I think everyone can relate to that feeling of having like a secret, feeling like a burden, and then getting it off your chest, and then suddenly you feel good, or someone can tell you that's not that bad, or whatever, and whatever it is, and then you can feel kind of cleansed of it. So I get that feeling. I mean, if you're not religious and you can't go to confession, well, this is, I guess, serving that purpose for people. I mean, I'm not religious, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I did think about it, and I thought, is this something that I'm burdened with or that I need to confess? And
just own it all.
I don't. I mean, I really thought about it. Like, I don't have anything. Like, what would I confess? I don't, I think we had this.
Do you want me to say?
No, but we had this discussion. And what did you say? You said,
I said, I don't have any regrets. Whatever.
Yeah. So, but look, if you've got a chance, I really recommend the apology line. It just has a really good pace, and it's like not a true crime. It's probably more a thriller. And really, then I end up going and reading some of the archive stories, the New York Times and the various newspapers that covered the thing. And he was this Alan Bridges guy was very creative and really interesting, and was a kind of art. Like, in a way, it was kind of like an art. And I think at one stage you could go to some event and he would play the apology. So you'd go into a phone box. And
that's cool.
Really cool. And there were real people apologising for stuff. I don't know whether that would work in this day and age, Well,
there's no way you can be truly anonymous anymore.
No, but, I mean, also, I think the guilt factor, it's almost like the moral compass is not what it used to be. You know what I mean?
Do you think?
Yeah, I do. I think, morality shifted a little bit, I guess, and we're probably desensitised, and I don't know. Anyway, and have you been reading anything?
No, but I've been scrolling through some
Oh,
stuff.
have you?
No, this is someone I've scrolled through for a very long time. But I was going to say, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Instagram and with all social media, but Instagram is the platform that I definitely use the most. But the one person who really makes Instagram really enjoyable for me is a Sydney drag queen and wig entrepreneur, Vanity, sometimes otherwise known as Vanity Fair, who posts under the handle @Wigs by Vanity. And
does she have a store in Sydney?
Yeah, so
on Oxford Street.
Well, she's got an office. I'm not sure where, but her wigs are she co-owns the wig with her with Courtney Act, who's her best friend, and Australian drag queen royalty. But Vanity's wigs are worn by drag queens all over the world, including RuPaul. If you listen to some of the drag queens, or you follow any of the drag queens that are on RuPaul's Drag Race, for instance, they all speak of Vanity. So yes, but if I opened anyone else's Instagram stories and I saw at the top of the screen, it looks like hundreds of little dots because there are so many stories. I would normally switch out immediately, but with Vanity, I'm oh, I'm about to settle in. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea and I'm going to be entertained because she is hilarious. So Vanity, she is one of Sydney's leading drag queens. If you go to Oxford Street with any sort of regularity, you may have seen her at Stonewall, and she's an excellent Mariah Carey impersonator. She also showcases that on her Instagram. But and she does have a podcast as well with Courtney Act called Brenda Call Me. It's quite listenable. Vanity also runs a YouTube channel. And when RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under was cast last year, I was I felt like I needed to reach out to the producers and let them know they had made a gross oversight because they didn't cast Vanity. It's do you want to make good TV or not? Obviously they did not, because that show, I think it's universally regarded as a bit of a dog. Like, it's maybe not the best installment in the franchise, which is a little disappointing. But besides the stage and the world of Wigs, Vanity really shines on social media. And so...
there'd be a few politics going on behind doors.
Of course there would be, reality television casting. But come on, this is staring you right in the face.
Maybe she declined.
I don't think so. She talked about it on her Instagram, which maybe that's why she didn't get on. I think she broke some NDAs. She definitely nearly got on and talked about things that she wanted to showcase. But yeah, like if you look on the grid, like Vanity, every Friday she posts a wig deal under Fabulous Fridays, but really her stories are where she shines. And it's just like, it's just her talk.
What does she do on Fabulous Fridays?
She does a special deal and she spins around in her chair and says it's Fabulous Fridays and talks about the wig, and she just feels herself in how she looks, and she's amazing. And I just can't explain why she's funny. Like, Fabulous Fridays. And she said, slay sister. But like... But it's just her stories are just like her talking to the camera, and like whether she's just at work or in bed watching TV, like getting into drag, in her kitchen, like whatever. And she just talks about like literally what is on her mind.
So what's the site called?
It's at Wigs by Vanity. But she's just like...
At Wigs.
And it's just everyday stuff, like her, whether she's tired, sometimes she talks about Australian politics, like sometimes she talks about her air fryer or like Barbies and vodka. And she's funny.
Does that all sound like she's kind of on the brand?
No,
state?
Like
Really?
she is that person that is just like 100% being authentically herself. Like, no.
Are you sure? Like, it seems like air fryers and vodka.
Well,
maybe she's sold out.
A savvy air fryer company should give her a sponsorship deal. I want that for Vanity. But no, like, it's just like... She makes things funny in a way I can't explain. Like, it's just like listening to your fun, like hilarious best friend rant. And like, I feel like I'm her friend just from watching this stuff. And like, she's also really, and what I'm saying, like, she's just brutally real in a way that lots of people aren't on social media. Like, she had plastic surgery. Like, she had a tummy tuck and a Brazilian butt lift. And she just posted all about it and how she was oozing and like all this stuff, which I just think if most people would kind of like turn off their social media during their plastic surgery recovery time. She also like got her hairline lowered and posted all about that. And she also is quite well known for posting long stories when she's had a few, which I think, most people will wake up and be like, what have I done? But she doesn't give a shit, and that makes me love her even more. And like, she's eminently quotable. Like, have
you ever met her? Because they say never meet.
I have met her. Though I don't think she
idols.
would remember me because we were both quite intoxicated on the dance floor at Stonewall. And I just remember we had a conversation about travel. I don't know why. It was years ago now, and she would definitely not remember me. But she did a rant against Easter for being a Christian holiday because she grew up Christian and dislikes Christianity intensely, so that whenever I drink now, it's for Jesus, and I'm always I want to play it. I don't know am I allowed to play a clip?
Well, yeah, but you can't play it now.
Yes, I can.
You can play a clip.
Yeah.
No, you can't. No, because you've got to give it to Hugh.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give it to you. But yeah. I'm always quoting her, like this Friday evening rendition she does of Cheryl Lee Ralph's In the Evening. And if you like the drag queen Trixie Mattel, who's been on RuPaul's Drag Race, she's always quoting this as well. And like, please imagine while listening to this, someone with an amazing mullet, dangly earrings, wearing a cape, spinning around in their kitchen, dancing kind of robotically while drinking vodka. And I quote this every weekend to my friends.
Guess what? It's Friday, which means on the weekend, the real me comes alive.
It sounds like my
Vanity.
cousin.
It will make you happy.
It sounds like my cousin.
Why?
He's got the mullet, dances robotically, and
Does he wear dangly earrings and wear a cape?
No, but, the clothes sometimes are interesting. Not dangly earrings, but... Well, I think that's it for this ep.
The end, I think.
great to see you again after all this time.
I know.
And if you enjoy what you're listening to, then don't forget to go to onthetoolspodcast.com. And if you have anything that you want us to review or any suggestions or would like to leave us a little note, please go to that URL and say hi. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and subscribe to us on your podcast app. And if you want to leave us a rating, 5 stars only, please. People who rate 5 stars are they're just hotter they're just hotter people.
You get a personal dance from Jackie.
Can you not solicit me out?
Anyway,
I will give you a personal dance though, so
I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye. We're on the tools.